Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Happy Sunday. Happy Easter, Passover, whatever it is you celebrate. I hope you're able to spend time with friends and family, right? Because that's what it's all about. That's what holidays are for. Spring is finally sprung here in the Northeast. The weather has been getting warmer. Super excited to be spending some more time outside in the warmer weather. Temperature here yesterday was 86 degrees, and I actually spent 2.5 hours in the car and another hour and a half inside at a card show. Did not plan that very well, but always happy to be at a card show. And I did that on the first 80+ degree day of the year. Today's episode is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, holiday weekend. I have a smaller window this weekend. Like I said, I was at a show yesterday. I'm going to break that down in a few minutes, and I have some things going today. So I'm getting this in. I'm squeezing it in. So it's not going to be as long as my normal episodes, but it will be just as good. I'm sure you are too. I am getting ready for the NFL draft coming up this week, Thursday night. We had the WNBA draft last Monday night. And I know people say the National should be celebrated like the Hobby New Year. But for me, I think it's in April. Really, in April, to me, is the Hobby New Year. I do a lot of WNBA, so the draft is really important for me. And the bulk of what I do is football, is NFL, right? And I know for me, it's a buildup, right? Just getting to know who the players are, but not as huge deep dive just yet. Because for me, it's really more important where these players go. Some players, right? I guess we could say some players are going to go to, no matter who they go to, that they're that talented, that they're going to be stars. But most players, they need a good situation. They need to be drafted to a good situation. So it's one thing to know who the players are, but knowing after next weekend, by this time next weekend, we know where all these guys have been drafted to, right? And now you go to work. Who has the best opportunity to succeed, right? And for the hobby, right? For the hobby, like last year's draft class, but all those quarterbacks, I mean, it was like throwing a dart at the wall. You could prospect on any one of them, right? Because they haven't even played an NFL snap yet. So you could start prospecting on any of them, try to be first to market and get some out there. But then we get a whole season, a full sample size, and the cards, right? They're just starting to drop now. Like the football cards are dropping, Optic just dropped, right? So it's I used to call this time of year the hobby dead zone, right? Because it was after football season and there was really nothing going on with football, but baseball was getting ready and I didn't do much baseball, and basketball was getting ready to go to their playoffs and I didn't do much basketball. So I got into hockey for a while, and then I was like, I don't want to be in that lane. I was spreading myself too thin, right? So I backed out of that. But over the last few years, with the release of all the football products, they get later and later and later. It's crazy. So, I mean, football is a 12-month, for the hobby, it's 12 months because we're ripping stuff and we're trying to be first to market. Well, the Optic's coming out in April and we're ripping it. What's first to market? April, May, right? I mean, there's really no downside on Prism, I think Prism was released in March. I'm going to say March, maybe February, March, but it was after the Super Bowl. So I mean, we just keep it going with the product, the way the product is being released. Football just keeps going. Um, but for the draft, as a brand new batch of quarterbacks coming out, and we hope for years like this draft class we're looking at now from 2024, right, to have all these quarterbacks to prospect on. I think it's doubtful this year, but definitely won't be as many as last year. And again, I say quarterbacks because the hobby is determined. That's where the value is when it comes to positions in cards, right? It's all about the quarterback. So we could like a running back or a wide receiver, but we all know that the value wise, they're not going to get much love at all. The value you're going to see is always in the quarterback. So with this last class, it made it really exciting to be able to prospect on so many different quarterbacks. And there was just a ton of talent that came out. And it creates more value in the boxes that you rip, right? I mean, if you're opening up boxes and you're just looking for one player, it's hard. It's hard, to make any of your money back, because we all know if it's the one player we're looking for, and I'm doing that a lot now with Caitlin Clark and the Prism WNBA, just trying to find a silver prism, like ripping all these boxes, and it's I haven't pulled one yet, right? So that makes it that there's a scenario that makes it difficult, and I'm glad we're not, we're not going through that right now, but that could be our future, right? That could be next year, depending on what happens with the draft and the quarterbacks. And for the guys we prospect on this year, I mean, the next 4 months is just the selling off. We're just going to be selling off last year's draft picks, right? Getting ready to start prospecting on this year's draft picks. Because my golden rule, right? Sell them all before the season starts. You can't go wrong. I've been burned so many times sitting on players into the September, October, and it just doesn't pay, right? If you're in this for the purpose of prospecting, holding, selling cards, my advice: sell it before the season starts. Absolutely do what you want, but this is what I do. A lot of lessons learned there. And for me, I mentioned it's the whole fantasy aspect too that I'm involved in. Seeing where these players are going, what teams they're going to, who has the best opportunity to be a starter and do well. Because we see guys with a lot of talent that'll get drafted and they'll go sit on a bench somewhere. And if they're behind other players, they may not. It may take a year or two for them to be any value in fantasy, right? And a lot of that could be with cards too in the hobby, especially with running backs and wide receivers and things like that may never turn out to be anything. And I know for myself, and I know I've talked to a lot of people who have the same thing. I have this box of, this 5-row box of cards that are just full of guys that, would have beens and could have beens. And just for whatever reason, either it never panned out or they got their opportunity and failed. So, and a lot of the guys, especially for cards that I prospect on, for fantasy, I'll prospect on them too for because I know they're going to be in the best situation they possibly could be in to succeed. So it's up to them to succeed. So yeah, for me, I just feel April, this month, is really the hobby new year for me. This is where it starts all over again, right? Out with the new, out with the old, in with the new. Um, and it's the same with fantasy too. This is where, even though we don't draft, I have one, dynasty league that we draft like a week after the NFL draft, that we have our rookie draft. But all my other drafts, like everybody else, are in August, or most in August, maybe depending on when the season starts, maybe September, but usually in August. So yeah, it's a few months away, but this is where I start. This is where I start looking at players. I mentioned I went to a show this weekend. I met up with my guy Rich Zwittlerbug Cards. We met up Saturday morning and we drove to the Worcester, Mass, to the best Flippin card show. Now their regular show in Woburn, Mass. Not even sure how long that's been running, but that's always a great show. I like going to that show. The downfall for me, it's a 2.5 hour drive each way, and it's a 1 day show. So it's tough to justify 5 hours in the car um, on a Saturday to go to a card show, especially when I'm surrounded by card shows every weekend. But I do get up to that show a couple times a year. I absolutely love it. I saw this brand new one that it was starting this past Saturday in Worcester at the College of the Holy Cross. Um, and just like their Woburn show, it was a well put together show. 2 rooms, and from what I understand, 60 tables, 30 sports cards, 30 Pokemon. It was busy all day, lots of foot traffic. From we were there for a few hours, it was busy the whole time we were there. Um, most vendors, and if you go to a card show, people are always asking you, "Hey, what are you looking for?" And I always say, "Hey, I'm looking for Caitlin Clark or any football," right? And I noticed most dealers had mostly lower end stuff, a lot of single cards in their cases. I probably saw 3 or 4 Caitlin Clark cards in the whole room. Um, and when I was asking, most people said, I'm holding those. The WNBA season's starting. And I'm thinking to myself, a little over a year ago, I was talking about that, and people were looking at me like I had 2 heads, right? Come on, what are you talking about? Why? When does that season start? Now people are up on it. I mean, I've got people calling me and sending me, they're like, hey, look at this great Caitlin Clark. Like people that I've known in the hobby for many years who, always had one lane with the high end football or high end basketball, right? And now they're showing me all these Caitlin Clark cards they're buying. So when I go to a show, I'm always expecting to see them in every case, and it's been like that for months. But now in these last few shows I've gone to, I've just noticed a real decline in her cards in the cases. And any worthwhile football too, I think, was out of the cases. A lot of people just taking them out of the cases. A ton of low end stuff from singles boxes, and single cards in that $5 to $25 range. Um, Handful of higher end dealers that I know with higher end cards in their cases. But I think that the show was missing that middle of the road. Um, where during football and I'm speaking about football now, because during football season you would see all those 150 to $600 cards in there, and a lot of those were just missing in the cases. There was a lot of higher end. I saw a lot of higher end cards in cases, and again, a handful of dealers with a lot of higher end stuff. But I don't want to say there was none, because they were there, but there was a lot of lower end stuff. Um, but I think they were just missing that little zone between the low end and the high end stuff. Um, and I mentioned before, I mean, I understand it's not football season, but over the last 2 years, the way they drop these football cards, I mean, Optic just dropped. I expected to see, a whole bunch of these Optic cards sitting in cases at this show. You can see any in there. I know this is a one show sample size, but this is kind of what we see every year around this time. I think last year, Optic hadn't even released yet. I think Optic released in June last year, if I remember June, and I think the Hobby released in July, right before the National. And I think Prism had just released this time last year in April. So I think we were doing a lot with Prism. I think the Don Russ run last year was much longer than it was this year. Yeah, it's just that dead zone for me. Just those things I'm looking to buy are just not there this time of year. So it's a lot more. And I talked about this. That's why I was buying the WNBA stuff, the Prism and the Bowman Chrome University basketball stuff, just filling that void. But this show, decent show overall. I'm not sure how often they're going to have this show, but I would definitely go back and check this show out, possibly in the fall, like November, December, in the middle of football season, to get a better idea of what this show would look like. And I think I would see a lot of different cases that would look a lot different. And probably different dealers there too. It's interesting how Pokemon has become 50%, and I've talked about this. It's just and it is a real draw at these shows. I mean, it's a real draw at these shows. And I think if you would have told me, a year or two ago that this is where we were going to be at, I'd say, no, I just don't see it. But yeah, I think they're bringing in as many sports card collectors, if not more, to these shows. That's what's really ramping up the foot traffic at a lot of these shows. So I know Panini was dropping WNBA draft night cards again this year, and I bought those last year. Obviously, the Caitlin Clarks. I did very well with the Caitlin Clarks, so I knew they were releasing this year. I wanted to jump back in and buy some of the newly drafted women this year. They released this past Thursday at 3 p.m. And of course, I marked my calendar, set my alarm, was ready to go, worked my whole day around 3 o'clock, so I knew I was home at my computer, ready to buy, and not just the base cards like I did last year, but try to get some numbered cards as well. And they were very reasonably priced on the website, so that was another plus. The clock hits 3 p.m. I'm ready. I click. My first thing I click on, I'm trying to add to the cart, and I get that dreaded message. We are experiencing high volumes. Please retry. Over and over and over. 305, 310, 315, 320, 325, 330. And then it hits me. This is why Panini runs Dutch auctions, because their antiquated servers can't handle a normal sale online. And this, to me, is just a normal release online, a normal sale. There's no reason why when something is dropped for sale online, that 25 to 30 minutes later, I'm still getting a message to please retry, even on base cards, that they're not going to sell out. They're going to let you buy as many as you want. But 30 minutes into it, I'm still being told to retry. And probably somewhere between the 318 and the 325 mark, they started letting you add things to your cart. Where like I knew most of it had to have been sold out unless something crashed terribly on their end and they were still available. But when they're still showing available, I said, I'll still try to put them in the cart, right? Um, and they give you the opportunity to check out. Oh, this is great. I'm going to get a card numbered to 5 30 minutes after it dropped. Then it spins around for a while, tells you to retry a few times. Then it empties your cart and gives you the option to continue shopping. Now you got to start all over again, continuously refreshing. Uh, even after 3:30, 30 minutes after this drop, 101s, number to 5, number of 10s are still showing available on the website, just letting you go through this whole thing just to empty your cart and tell you, I'm sorry, you can't have it. It wasn't until 3:40 p.m. that their website started updating that things were actually sold out. I'm a computer guy, a very fast computer. So very good internet, very fast computer, continuously refreshing too. 40 minutes before things started showing sold out on their website. Exactly why they do Dutch auctions, to keep their servers from crashing. And as somebody else had said to me, jokingly, I'm sure it's their Windows 95 servers, right? Because I don't know how it's possible in today's day and age that you can't keep up with a sale like this. I mean, it's possible that the same software they use for this is the same they use for their quality control on this year's Prism football and Prism WNBA basketball. I was having this talking to somebody about this, and they said, all the companies are having the same problem. No, that's not true. When Topps dropped Bowman Chrome University basketball, I was able to purchase as soon as that went live. In 2 minutes into that drop, it updated that the hobby cases had been sold out, that only the single hobbies were still available to buy. 2 minutes into it, right? So their servers were able to handle that just fine. And I really think more people would be online trying to buy Bowman Chrome University basketball hobby boxes than buying WNBA draft night cards. Just me, but I think if we polled a number of people, they would agree that more people would be interested in buying the Bowman U hobby boxes than WNBA draft night cards. So no, it's not like that all over. And all I could think about with the money pouring in with the sales from all this wax, an investment into the servers, into the buying experience for the customer would be money well spent. Because I know everybody's saying, oh, they're losing this license and that license. It's not like they're going out of business. They're going to still be here next year, with a number of products. So it's not like they're going away anytime soon. I am traveling next weekend. I'm going to be out of state. So there will be no solo from me on Sunday. But I'll be back here Thursday with the Hobby Chop podcast. And then again, the following Thursday. So no solo from me next Sunday. And that's all I have for you. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please definitely subscribe. And most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. Until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.